We all are familiar with what it feels like to be at the mercy of an emotional manipulator. It can be extremely effective, which is why some unscrupulous individuals do it so much. A few years ago, Facebook, in conjunction with researchers from Cornell and the University of California, conducted an experiment in which they intentionally played with the emotions of 689,000 users by manipulating their feeds so that some users only saw negative stories while others only saw positive stories. Sure enough, when these people posted their own updates, they were greatly influenced by the mood of the posts they'd been shown. It's precisely because an emotional manipulator can be so destructive that it's important for you to recognize it in your own life. It's not as easy as you might think, because an emotional manipulator is typically very skillful. They start out with subtle manipulation and raise the stakes over time, so slowly that you don't even realize it's happening. Fortunately, an emotional manipulator is easy enough to spot if you know what to look for. 8 signs of emotionally manipulative people. 1. An emotional manipulator will undermine your faith in your grasp of reality. Emotional manipulators are incredibly skilled liars. They insist an incident didn't happen when it did, and they insist they did or said something when they didn't. The trouble is they're so good at it that you end up questioning your own sanity. To insist that whatever caused the problem is a figment of your imagination is an extremely powerful way of getting out of trouble. 2. Their actions don't match their words. Emotional manipulators will tell you what you want to hear, but their actions are another story. They pledge their support, but when it comes time to follow through, they act as though your requests are entirely unreasonable. They tell you how lucky they are to know you, and then act as though you're a burden. 3. They are experts at doling out guilt. Emotional manipulators are masters at leveraging your guilt to their advantage. If you bring up something that's bothering you, they make you feel guilty for mentioning it. If you don't, they make you feel guilty for keeping it to yourself and stewing on it. When you're dealing with emotional manipulators, whatever you do is wrong, and no matter what problems the two of you are having, they're your fault. 4. An emotional manipulator claims the role of the victim. When it comes to emotional manipulators, nothing is ever their fault. No matter what they do, or fail to do, it's someone else's fault. Someone else made them do it, and usually, it's you. If you get mad or upset, it's your fault for having unreasonable expectations. If they get mad, it's your fault for upsetting them. Emotional manipulators don't take accountability for anything. 5. They are too much, too soon. Whether it's a personal relationship or a business relationship, emotional manipulators always seem to skip a few steps. They share too much too soon, and expect the same from you. They portray vulnerability and sensitivity, but it's a ruse. The charade is intended to make you feel special for being let into their inner circle, but it's also intended to make you feel not just sorry for them but also responsible for their feelings. 6. They are an emotional black hole. Whatever emotional manipulators are feeling, they're geniuses at sucking everyone around them into those emotions. If they're in a bad mood, everyone around them knows it. But that's not the worst part, they're so skillful that not only is everyone aware of their mood, they feel it too. This creates a tendency for people to feel responsible for the manipulator's moods and obliged to fix them. 7. They eagerly agree to help, and maybe even volunteer, then act like a martyr. An initial eagerness to help swiftly morphs into sighs, groans, and suggestions that whatever they agreed to do is a huge burden. And, if you shine a spotlight on that reluctance, they'll turn it around on you, assuring you that, of course, they want to help and that you're just being paranoid. The goal? To make you feel guilty, indebted, and maybe even crazy. 8. An emotional manipulator will always one-up you. No matter what problems you may have, emotional manipulators have been worse. They undermine the legitimacy of your complaints by reminding you that their problems are more serious. The message: you have no reason to complain, so shut the heck up. Emotional manipulators drive you crazy because their behavior is so irrational. Make no mistake about it, their behavior truly goes against reason, so why do you allow yourself to respond to them emotionally and get sucked into the mix? The more irrational and off-base someone is, the easier it should be for you to remove yourself from their traps. Quit trying to beat them at their own game. Distance yourself from them emotionally, and approach your interactions with them like they're a science project, or you're their shrink if you'd prefer that analogy. You don't need to respond to the emotional chaos, only the facts.